Welcome everyone to our global virtual Telco Pride. On behalf of Ericsson, Nokia, Telia, Tele2, 3 and Telenor, we are very excited to be here today. I am Natalia Farfan Santos. I love to say that my purpose in life is to enable organizations to have people to live free without fear. And that drives my job as Head of Diversity and Inclusion Programs at Ericsson. I am very excited to be here, and I'm very happy also to be here with my co-host, Chris. Hi, Chris.
Hi, and hi, everyone. It's really a pleasure to be here. For the third year in a row, we can welcome, as a whole industry, to Pride and gather across the whole world, basically. So we have had the previous years callers from all over the world. So let's also engage a bit with you, and let's all go to the chat and just say hi and then say where we are calling in from. So we can also see the chat on the side here. So also along the way, feel free to ask questions. My name is Chris. I'm Leadership and Culture Lead in Telia, and I'm the happy person to be able to guide you through this 1.5 hour together with Natalia and a lot of amazing speakers and a great lineup. But I'm both a bit happy today, but also a bit sad, because I know for the fact that this year many of our LGBTQI friends are more worried than ever to participate in Pride or be proud and out, as you call it in Ericsson. And then, but we, Natalie, we arranged this last year as well. But then for the first time, we meet physically in the studio and also meeting all of you out there. So we're trying to kind of interact as much as possible along the way. But we shouldn't take our rights for granted, and that's why we're here, because we can also see patterns in the world that our rights are regressing. And as you said, Natalie, nobody should live a life in fear, and everybody should be able to be themselves fully. So I think without further ado, I think I will give the word over to you a bit more, Natalie.
Yes, thanks, Chris. I think it is very important what you said. Of course, we're very happy and excited to be here, but we also acknowledge that the LGBTQI plus community continuously facing stigma, exclusion, and discrimination. I actually want to share some facts with you to remind us of the purpose and the bigger why of why we are here today. Still, today, in 2023, more than 65 countries still criminalize same-sex relationships. 11 out of those countries even include death penalty. Most governments still deny trans people the right to change their legal names and gender. And only 34 countries, as of today, allows same-sex couples to marry. So it is more than ever that we want to continue providing information, acknowledgement, and awareness on these topics. As global companies and industries, we have an incredible opportunity to make sure that everyone who works at our workplaces and everyone around the globe feels safe, respected, and included.
Great, and I can already see people calling in from Sweden and the Nordics and Baltics, but also India. So there's a bit widespread around the world. And feel free to make your greetings come in the chat and also questions along the way. I just wanted to touch upon a recent experience. I get feedbacks both online and in the physical space from customers that says to us, if you're doing the Pride and celebrating and changing to the Pride flag, we will leave you as customers. But the beauty then is that we're here as a whole industry. So I like to then reply to them, maybe you're then going to go off grid, or do you don't want a mobile at all? Because all the providers are here together fighting for the same rights to be yourself and the human rights of living a life in not in fear, but where you can be yourself fully. And that will be the main focus to talk about today, because we believe we have come far, but I still, as a gay person, meet both violence. I've been beaten to the ground because I'm gay. I've been looked at, you've always been stared at, negative comments, and we haven't come that far as we think. So yes, we we can mark and celebrate the achievements, but we must not rest on the achievements we have had so far, because there's a lot more to do, and we also need to secure that it doesn't go backwards.
And that has been our motto. Really, last year you said it, go big or go home. And we might be seen as forced competitors in the market, but when it comes to LGBTQI plus rights, we come on this together. So what do we have in the agenda for today, Chris?
Yes, we have a lot of exciting speakers, except from us, of course. But we have some greetings from our C-suites, as representatives from all the companies, standing together of the importance of diversity and inclusion, and specifically then Pride here today. Then we have a keynote speaker, Aaron Kuhn, that I will introduce a bit later, but really Black Batman, as he calls himself. So let's see how that goes. Then we have more greetings from our different companies. We have a panel on transgender visibility, and last but not least, a Q&A with Aaron, our keynote speaker, and a couple of other persons from the other companies as well. And then hopefully we will be able to end on time and also check out with all of your key takeaways. So we will look closely to the chat so we create this beautiful event together. Without further ado, I think it's time to then announce our first greetings. So we have Yogesh from Tele2 and Cecilia from Tre that will give us some greetings and talk about the importance of this topic. Thank you.
Hello, my name is Yogesh Malik. I'm the CTIO of Tele2. The topic we are going to discuss, diversity and inclusion, is very close to my heart. I really believe in that. At Tele2, we also believe in creating unlimited potential and becoming unlimited together. The way we do it is by recognizing diverse perspectives, amplifying them, making sure that they are a part of every discussion. By that, we enrich. We enrich our insights. We enrich discussion. We actually get more passionate together and creating those new things every single day together for our customers, for our stakeholders. And hence we become unlimited together. Thank you.
Hi, I'm Cecilia Eriksson, Chief HR Officer at 3. At 3, we have very high goals and ambitions when it comes to gender equality, and we also have a very high ambition when it comes to our culture. We want to create a business where everyone feels welcome, just who they are, and we want everyone to be able to contribute with all of their knowledge, ideas, and potential. We all, both as colleagues and human beings, need to take responsibility here for each other. Senior leadership, of course, do have an extra responsibility when it comes to this, to creating and designing good companies. We need to work to embrace everything that makes us different from each other and from there create innovation in successful companies. But we also need to take part of creating a society that we all can feel proud of. We live in 2023. And there are some concerning trends, both inside Sweden and outside of Sweden, that parts of society actually decline when it comes to tolerance and acceptance of differences between humans. This only proves that we must continue to put our foot down and to manifest all the openness, warmth, and inclusion that we want to see in the world. And through the collaboration in Telco Pride, we stand united to make everyone feel welcomed and included into our companies and into our industry. We need to be a diverse bunch of people when we build the digital infrastructure for Sweden. I dream of a world where all of my colleagues at 3, all of my colleagues in this industry, and where every human being are treated with respect and feel welcomed just as who they are in all arenas of life. Thank you.
Thank you, Yogesh and Cecilia. Really great to hear about our common dreams and ambitions. But now we're here to listen to our keynote speaker, Aaron, and he will also talk more about how can we act and actually realize those dreams and ambitions. Aaron is founder and CEO of Black Batman. I think probably that's his alter ego, so let's hear what he has to say about that. He's also an award-winning voice for diversity and inclusion, and he has 2 dogs, so he's a dog dad as well as me. That's why I mention it, because I love dogs. So he must be a good person, I think, if you have a couple of dogs. And then, of course, he's also nominated for a Trailblazer Award today, and just to be humble, I'm nominated together with him. So let's welcome Aaron Kroon to the stage. Welcome, Aaron.
Thank you so much, Chris, and thank you. Yeah, I think Black Batman is a great alter ego, right? So first of all, thank you so much for having me here today at this awesome event. I mean, it's quite astounding, I think, to be here gathering hopefully thousands of people around the globe celebrating love, diversity and equality. So this is a proud moment for me. And you know, I've done this now for 25 years. 25 years of working with diversity and inclusion. That's a long time. And every now and then people are coming up to me and say things like, oh, Aaron, is this really still important? Do we still need to talk about this? And when it comes to LGBTQ inclusion, people might say that, oh, you have your pride parades, or you live in Sweden, as I do. You have all the rights now, so can we please move on and talk about business? And here's the thing. Diversity and inclusion, LGBTQ inclusion, is business, right? It's core business. And I think everyone tuning in today and everyone here in the studio at Telia in Stockholm, we are privileged in one way or another. We might live in a democracy. We have a job, maybe have an income. We have a support system of families or friends or colleagues and so on. And of course, it's awesome to be privileged, right? That could be a blessing. But here's another thing. When we are working with diversity and inclusion and LGBTQ inclusion, it could be kind of a threat or a curse, I would say, to be privileged. Because when we are privileged, we sometimes tend to end up in a, should we call it a bubble? A bubble of comfort, a bubble of like-minded people, people who looks like us, thinks like us, dresses like us, maybe have the same political views as us. And when that happens, we tend to forget the real world outside of that bubble. So I think we need people, at least every now and then, to pick a hole in that bubble and let us see the real world outside, give us a reality check. And today I'm going to be that person for you. I'm the one who's going to give you that reality check. So lean back for a while. I'm going to take you back to 2011, a while ago. And this was a day in November in Stockholm. I remember it like yesterday, because this was the day I was on my way to get my dream job. And I think you know the feeling. You are excited, scared, everything at once, all the emotions at the same time, because this was a big moment for me. By now, I have been living in Stockholm for 10 years, been working as a leader for 10 years, so I was pretty senior in my leadership. And this process for this job had been going on for several months. And you know the drill, it's been external companies and tests and everything in between. So this day I was on the way to meet the recruiting manager on the company. And this was the final step. We were supposed to talk about salaries and compensations and the practical details of this. So this was a done deal. And I remember taking the tube to the Old Town in Stockholm, getting off, and the telephone rings. And of course, I picks it up, and hello. And it's a recruiter who calls me, and she asks me, "Oh, Aaron, are you on your way?" Yeah, of course I'm on my way. I'm going to be there in 10 minutes, so see you soon, I guess. Okay, and she says, "You know what, Aaron? Something has come up." And I started thinking, okay, what could this be? Could the manager be ill today, so we have to reschedule? Or worst case, at least in my head, could it have happened something financially with the company so that they have to put this on hold? But of course, I asked her, okay, just tell me what happened, and we figure it out. A long pause. And then she said, you know, it has come to the attention of the management team in the company that you are gay, and they don't have a problem with that, but their organization are not ready for you. I'm going to say that again. Their organization are not ready for you. This was 2011. And I guess there and then I lost my dream job, or at least what I thought was my dream job. Obviously it was not, but because of the fact that I'm gay. And I guess there and then I had two choices. One choice would be to just lie down and think like, okay, being a manager, that's not for people like me. Or I could choose the other side and let this fuel my drive and my energy and show them that, okay, this is their loss, not mine. And the thing here is, this is not about my story, this is not about me, because the important lesson here is that this happens still in Sweden and in the world. People are still being rejected because of who they love. People are being rejected for what they look like, of their names, of their religion, and so on. So this is happening. So discrimination still exists. And it's up to us, me, everyone tuning in today, it's up to us to hold those in power accountable. People like me, we should hold leaders, politicians, everyone in power should be accountable for this. Because it's up to us to really make that change. So fast forward 12 years until today, and this is still a part of the reality, you know, outside that bubble that I talked about. This on the screen, these are real messages and real comments to me on my LinkedIn. Of course, I have adapted, you know, the layout for this presentation, but the words and the sentences are real. And I think it could be easy for us to just push this aside and say that, we should not give this kind of people, or we should not give hate any air. But at the same time, I think this is maybe the reality check we need today, that this happens. So, and this is, you know, it's kind of scary because this is from leaders, it's from people in power, it's from people who could be our colleagues or our friends or our families. So this is happening. And if this is the reality that people encounter when they speak what's on their mind, if this is what the future leaders will come across when they break the norm or when they try to accomplish change, then we have a problem. Because who's want to be a leader if this is what we will be subjected to? Hate, phobia, racism, and so on. So, once again, it's up to us to make sure that the leaders of tomorrow won't face this. But, of course, there is so much hope. Listening to me the first 10 minutes, I can understand that you feel that everything is dark and black, but it's not. Because another part of reality is what we are doing today, I would say. I mean, today is about hope. So many people, thousands of you, are tuning in around the world, celebrating love and equality. I mean, that's hope, right? When I started out doing this, working with the diversity and inclusion, no one talked about it. Today, it's on everybody's agendas. That's hope. When we talk about gender equality, for example, we see more and more women in leading positions, even though it's going way too slow. But I would say it's hopeful, at least. I can make a living out of doing this, being on stage, telling my story, helping companies and leaders build diversity strategies, and that's a receipt that people and companies do want to learn. They do, and that's hopeful. But we cannot take this for granted, so I mean, it's up to us. Once again, it's up to us to keep this hope alive. And you know, so many times during my 25 years now as a leader, I felt kind of alone. I'm going to admit that. In the boardrooms, in the management teams, I've felt alone. Because think about it. How many gay leaders, executives, or many gay CEOs do you actually know? Many of you might think of Tim Cook now, so try to find someone else. Do you know anyone else except Tim Cook? And then add black to that, and we have a kind of a diversity jackpot, I guess. So, I mean, if someone would have asked the 16-year-old Aaron, okay, Aaron, being black and being gay, is that a superpower or is it a weakness? I think you all know what that young Aaron would have answered, a weakness for sure. But you know, now, today, at age 44, I would say it's my absolute biggest superpower, being who I am and everything that comes with that. It's my superpower and it's my biggest competitive advantage. Because I spent so many years now trying to find out how to do this transition from weakness to superpower. So I think I got a pretty good hunch now of how to do this, and I'm gonna give you a couple of keys. First of all, I know it's human wanting to fit in. I know it, especially when you are young. You want to be like everybody else. I know that because I've been there. But it's so much more. It's so fulfilling to, you know, be something else. And the key here is to find your tribe or find your community of people. For me, this happened when I moved to Stockholm at age 19. I grew up in a little city in the northern part of Sweden. When I moved to Stockholm, I kind of immediately found the gay community. And being a part of that community made me, for the first time, had the strength and the courage to say, I'm gay. It was also the first time I really embraced who I really am. So embrace the fact that you are you. That's the first step to acceptance. And of course, you know, being, let's call it unique. I love the word unique. Being unique comes with unique strength. And everything we'll go through during life will give us those unique experiences. And you know, of course, as a LGBTQ person, we will go through so much. It will be laughter, tears, hopes and fears, but it will all make us winner in the end. And you know, of course, during my year, 25 years as a leader or 44 years as a human being, I've had my fair share of racism and homophobia. But what I've tried to do, not always succeed, but I really tried, have been to own it. So, I mean, if people have called me fag, I've called them a homophobe. If people have called me the N-word, I have called their parents. I mean, and today, this is my biggest superpower because so many people are doing what I do. So many people are talking about diversity and inclusion. But how many people have actually lived the stories? So by now, I also know that it's people like me, people who breaks the norm, who can bring those unique perspectives to the boards, to the businesses, to the management teams. And that is how innovation is born, for example, when we challenge status quo. So my life is my biggest superpower because I have lived what I talk about. And you know, for me, I live in Sweden, but I think this goes for all of the Nordics maybe, that power is quite often seen as something ugly, I would say. Why is that? I mean, power to me is an amazing opportunity to accomplish real change, right? So I say, be loud and grab all opportunities coming your way, and please do not apologize for it. And you know, power doesn't have to be about being a leader in business. Power can be about having the strength to tell your story. Power can be about having the strength to say no thank you to people or to businesses who doesn't match or share your beliefs. So refuse to be, in Sweden we call it mellanmjölk, meaning you should not be too much, not too little, just enough to float around with anyone noticing. Don't do that. So, I mean, if people tell you to stay in the background, or if people tell you to be less, well, then choose other people to hang with. And I also know that this LGBTQ inclusion, maybe that's not the most important thing for everybody in this room. Maybe diversity, inclusion, and LGBTQ inclusion, maybe that's not on the top of the agenda when you leave this meeting today. But I'm sure that you all know someone who is a part of a minority group. If you're not part of a minority group yourself, just think about this as something that you do for a colleague or a friend or a partner who actually is part of that group. Because to that person, this could be the most important thing in the world. Being seen, being heard, being accepted. So this brings us to something really important, the power of allyship. And, this is me, obviously, and I don't know if it's obviously, but it's me at least, and my dad. And obviously, it's a long time ago. But my dad is 75 years old today. He still lives up north in that little city where I was raised and born. And for 40 years before he retired, my dad worked in the Church of Sweden. I'm not sure, I know that you are tuning in from all around the world, but if you know the Church of Sweden or maybe any church at all, you might recognize the feeling that the church or churches has not always maybe been, famous for embracing diversity, right? At least it was like that in Sweden in the 80s and in the 90s. So quite early on, I started questioning my dad. Okay, Dad, how can you do this? How can you work for the church when the church have so, should we call it, strained discussions about women priests or same-sex marriages? How can you do this, Dad? And then he said something that has been with me and been kind of a guiding star throughout my career. He said, the best thing that you can do to accomplish change, that is to take the fight from the inside instead of standing on the outside complaining. I think that's so true. And that is exactly what he did during those 40 years in the Church of Sweden. He took side fearlessly, I want to say, with minorities within the church in the 80s and in the 90s, standing on the boards and breaking down barriers to bring about change. And today I would say we have people or pioneers like my dad to thank for the fact that we have women priests and that gays can marry in the Church of Sweden if they want to. So he's a shining example of what it means to be an active ally and how important it is. For me, it meant the world to have my dad and my mom by my side. So be that person for your friend, for your partner, for a colleague. Because, if my dad could do this in the Church of Sweden in the 80s and in the 90s, I'm absolutely sure that all of you can do the same. It takes a little courage. And that I know that you have that. So, thank you so much for having me. It's been a great pleasure and honor. And I hope and think that I managed to create some aha moments during my presentation today. And mostly, I hope that you really feel the power of diversity and inclusion and that you feel the power behind being different. So I would love if you scan this code and connect with me on LinkedIn. Let's make it 5,000 followers now, so let's see what you're up for, and continue the conversation, because I love to continue conversations, I love to learn, and hopefully you can inspire me too. So connect and see you soon again. Thank you.
Good, and thank you, Aaron. It was truly inspiring, and a lot of great feedback in the chat as well, saying that you represent many different elements of diversity and especially LGBTQIA today. But then I just want to touch upon, because my heart can't move forward before I touch upon this. And Johan says, as we hear many times, in our part of the world, isn't it already pretty equal? Aren't we going a bit overboard? And do we even need to keep going?
Yeah, I think that's good. I think it's a good question. I think that goes partly into what I started saying. I think yes, that's true. We have a lot of rights in the Nordics or in Sweden, and that's good. But I think also we are seeing so many places in the world, even in Sweden, I would say, without getting political, I have to say, we see that rights are being threatened. So I think we need to be aware of the rights we have and not take those for granted. And also I think celebrating love and celebrating equality is never a bad thing. That's never threatening. That should be, always, always, always be something good.
Yeah. And I would also say, if you ask that question, it's probably coming from a state of really, really high privilege.
Yes.
Because just spend an hour with you or a lot of our LGBTQIA plus friends out there, you'll realize we have a long way to go. So also realizing our privilege is important in this. Thank you so much for joining us, Aaron. Look forward to see you at the Q&A. There's a lot of interesting questions to touch with you later.
Thank you.
Good. Hope you enjoyed Aaron. I can see a lot of good feedbacks and a lot of great comments on him. He's then the Black Batman, so of course he should get a lot of great feedback. But then it's about time to announce our two next greetings. We have a greeting from Telia and Ericsson. So Maria and Carl will talk a bit about why is it important for Telia and Ericsson.
Hello, everyone. I'm Carl Melander. I'm the CFO at Ericsson, and I'm also a proud sponsor of our Ericsson Employee Resource Group in Sweden for Pride. And I'm really pleased to be celebrating Pride with the telco industry for a second year. For us at Ericsson, diversity and inclusion are not only the right thing to do, but it's also critical to our success. That's why we're committed to creating a workplace where everyone is valued, everyone is respected, regardless of sexual orientation, gender identity, etc. And we see that this creates a more positive and inclusive work environment. But studies also show that companies that prioritize diversity and inclusion are more innovative, have better financial performance, and are more likely to attract top talent as well. And in our industry, in the telco industry, where technology is constantly evolving and really so important for success, we must be open to new ideas and perspectives to be able to stay ahead. For me, as an ally of the LGBTQI plus community, and with Rainbow in my own family also, this is personal for me. I believe that embracing and supporting diversity not only benefits our company, but it's the right thing to do. And it sends a message of acceptance and inclusion also to our customers and our society, and of course our employees, our business partners, and so on. So to close out here, embracing and supporting Pride is not only the right thing to do, but it's also a smart business decision. And together, we can create a more inclusive and successful future for everyone. Thank you.
Hello, everyone. My name is Maria Romberg-Everett, and I'm heading up the People and Culture function within Telia. Today, I'm standing here side by some of the brightest companies in the telco industry. And I'm happy that we're standing here, proud that we're standing here as allies and not as competitors. We're united in our belief of true inclusion, letting everyone shine, no matter what individual preferences. And I'm also very happy that we share the belief that discrimination is not part of our future. For me, this is personal, having a family with special needs. We also recognize, of course, that true innovation, which is the core of what we do in Telia, only happens if we invite the people that we previously rejected. So let's make sure that we as colleagues and leaders encourage everyone to seek their full potential, lift each other up, be proud in that, and amplify that pride together.
Thank you, Maria and Carl. It was really, really great to have your greetings. And then also hearing the story about how diversity and inclusion is such an important thing for all of us. So even though we talk about Pride here today and zoom in on the LGBTQIA plus community, it's all about all of us being able to come to work without fear and also blossoming into our full potential and bringing our whole self to work. So don't get stuck. I can see some comments. Don't get too stuck in the pride and the LGBTQI. That's the topic we zoom into today. But in the bigger picture, it's all about all of us being able, and it's a human right to be ourselves and bring all of that to work. Next up, we're going to have a panel on the experience being transgender at the workplace. And we're going to have another amazing host with us then to do the panel. So welcome, Anna. And Anna is from Ericsson. And then the stage is yours. And good luck with the panel.
Thank you so much, Chris. And thank you for having us and for the opportunity. I'm going to scooch on over and start us off by introducing our panel. And I'll start quickly by introducing myself just to get us started. So Anna Holm, my pronouns are she, her. I consider myself queer. I identify as cis. And I am head of learning and development at business area networks in Ericsson. And that's my day job. And I also have a gay job, which is that I actually co-started the employee resource group Pride at Ericsson. And I'm so excited to introduce our panel today. And we're going to talk about the experience of being out as transgender in the workplace. And these are your experiences. So I want to start off with introducing Camilla. If you wouldn't go ahead and introduce yourself, my colleague from Ericsson.
Thank you, Anna. My name is Camilla Danheid. My pronouns are she, her. My day job, I work as a software developer or an operational product owner, doing some in-house tool at Ericsson. And in my gay job, I also have a lot of volunteering work in the ERG that Anna mentioned, for example, and also in an organization called Transammans, which is very dear to me, where we do meetups and things for trans people here in Sweden.
Fantastic.
And did I cover all the questions?
Wonderful. And what would you say you identify as?
Oh, of course. I'm a trans woman. I'm a trans woman.
Thank you so much. And of course, this is a kind of a specialized setting, so that's not necessarily something to ask for anyone. But
of course.
And then Yuki, would you present yourself?
Of course. Hi, everyone. My name is Yuki Moraes. I'm from Nokia. I'm very thankful for being invited to speak here today on what is my experience of being trans in the workplace. I am a non-binary person. I use they, them pronouns. My position at Nokia at this point in time, I'm head of early careers for Portugal, so part of the talent attraction team. And in terms of gay jobs, I have several. Within Nokia, I'm part of the Out Leader program, which some of you might have heard of. If not, do search it up. It's an initiative to develop LGBT plus talent within Nokia and to really make LGBT plus voices be heard. Outside of that, I'm an activist, so you can find me most weekends or from time to time in the street marching for all the things I believe in. I do some volunteering work, but yeah, I'll pass the word on and we'll have the chance to talk a little bit about that.
Wonderful. Well, thank you both so much. And I think I want to start us off a little bit today talking about some of the terms that we may have kind of thrown out at the audience right as we were getting started. And there are a lot of terms. I think it's important to take with us that there are a lot of definitions to the different terms that we use within the LGBTQ+ community, and some differences. We're a very diverse community. So I want to also preface our conversation here that these are our experiences and our thoughts and how we think about the terms and your experiences, just to kind of take that into mind, because our experiences are not everyone's experiences. But let's talk a little bit about some terminology. So Camilla, for example, you mentioned that you're a transgender woman. What does it mean to be transgender?
Transgender is an umbrella term, but a trans person is someone who goes against the norms of gender and also identify as trans. So it can be that you don't feel like the gender you were assigned to at birth, or it can be how you express yourself using clothes, and etc. And important to say is that trans is not a sexuality. It's more an identity.
Yeah, I think that's really good. And something else that you talked about was it can be both how you identify and also how you express yourself. And those things are not necessarily the same thing. They're actually different. And I think that's important to keep in mind, as well as how you present yourself and then how you actually internally identify. Another term that came up was non-binary.
Yeah.
Maybe a little bit, for many, maybe a little bit newer term. Do you want to share how you would define non-binary?
Of course, and yeah, as you said, this is the way that I look at it. There are several ways of looking at it. For me, being a non-binary person, I consider myself trans, so I feel like I'm part of the trans umbrella. For me, being non-binary is not identifying with the binary nature of what gender culture has been telling us. So I don't feel like I am a woman. I don't feel like I'm a man. I sometimes feel in between. I sometimes feel both. I sometimes feel neither. So being non-binary, it means that you are somewhere within a spectrum.
Yeah.
And I have to say something very important here. The gender expression, so what you see from a person and how they present themselves, has nothing to do with what they identify as. So I'm here, and most people look at me and they presume that I might be female. That is not the case, and of course people have no way of knowing it, but it's important to say, don't assume. But I could be here and say that I'm Mark, and my pronouns are he, his. So this is what it means to be gender non-conforming, so to not conform to gender rules, and to be within a spectrum of genders or pronouns.
And I think it's so fantastic that you mentioned the term spectrum, because I think that's true both with regards to identities as well as sexual orientation, if we wanted to talk about that as well, because it is really very broadly on a spectrum where you can land way out on one end or the other, or somewhere in the middle, or just decide, hey, I don't want to be on the spectrum at all. So I think the most important thing is it is your own thing. No one gets to define it or say that you are this or you are that. It is very much our own definition and what we carry ourselves. So we're going to talk a little bit about the experience that you both have. I mean, I think that there is still a lot of learning that needs to happen generally in society, also in the workplace, when it comes to a transgender experience, or just basically the terms like we talked about a little bit now. So I wondered if I could throw out the question to you first, Yuki, if you could share a little bit about what your experience being out as trans, because you mentioned that you do identify as trans. That's not true for all non-binary people. But what's your experience being out as trans in the workplace?
My experience is diverse, so not everything is great all the time. Some moments have been exceptional, especially working for Nokia. I've been embraced, I've been included, and it has been amazing. I transitioned socially within Nokia, at least when it comes to my name. I changed my name, and the bureaucratic part of it was absolutely amazing.
And that's fantastic, because that's not always the case,
That's
right?
not always the case. So I feel tremendously privileged that I'm able to work for a company that made that possible and made that quite easy to do. But the thing that I sometimes feel is that inclusion and diversity is something that companies very much invest in on a global scale. And sometimes that can mean on a theoretical level and not very much on the ground. And what I mean by this is that I'm Portuguese, so my language is automatically gendered. So in Portuguese, I use pronouns that are not recognized neither by law, neither by my own language. So I use ele, dele, which is nowhere in terms of laws. It's not recognized. So in Portugal, what happened was people had the best intentions. My name is now being spoken better and better, but there's two people maybe that use my correct pronouns, and I'm not blaming anyone for not knowing it. It's just so unknown and so hard to be non-binary in a language that doesn't have the words to recognize my existence, and that's a really a tough topic to talk about, because it's like I don't really exist, and people don't have the means to treat me as I should be treated, and that's why we're trying to change it.
And I think it's so, you mentioned a couple of things. Of course, it's really challenging when a language doesn't allow for that non-binary identity to actually verbally, like through the words, exist. And I think that's a benefit what we have in English with the they-them pronouns. Also, there are other neo-pronouns that people are using. And I think what you're sharing really signifies the importance of the effort that we around allies and allies in the community as well alike can just put in the effort to acknowledge the correct pronouns of a person and how meaningful that is. I wanted to hear a little bit on your experience, Camilla, because you also actually transitioned while at work.
Yes, or started.
Started, because it's a journey, right?
It's a long journey. Yeah. I mean, the transitioning period when I decided to do it was quite easy, I would say. It has been very easy, and everyone is very kind and professional. So that's a nice thing. The time up to that point was really, really, really tough.
Making the decision to...
making the decision and just getting the courage to do it and accepting myself also. And I want to touch on this ERG that we have and how
and ERG, maybe just to state for our audience, Employee Resource Group, which is essentially a volunteer-led group. Many of you probably have them in your companies, but essentially volunteer groups that focus in on different types of minority groups within the company.
Yes.
And society. Yeah.
So before for long, I've been at Ericsson for quite many years now. I didn't know anyone in the community in any of the LGBTQI spectrum. I had one, actually, a gay colleague. I looked really much up to him for being out as gay. But other than that, I had nothing. And I was feeling quite bad at the time. Quite bad, I'm putting it mildly here. And then I saw this ERG having this panel similar to what we have now, and they talked about, it was Anna hosting it, talked about the transgender and all of that. And we had panelists, and there were all these listeners that were spreading love, and there was hearts, and it was almost religious experience to have someone talk. I mean, in your company, where I was really afraid of actually losing my job. I was really worried about everything at that point. And having to see that someone are talking about me and talking for me, and there is so many people within Ericsson that just spread love in this chat and everywhere, it made a huge difference for me. So this visibility and this having those events and having this focus sometimes, I can't stress the importance of having it.
And I think you said something super beautiful and impactful there, because you said you saw people talking for you.
Yes.
People who are informed, who understand, who want to make space for you. And I think that's something, again, that we can all do just to make sure that we're opening space, creating a space, and speaking your part. Where you may not be there, and make you feel comfortable. I think that's the job for us in companies in general, allies and so on, to make it blatantly clear that this is the place where you're welcome to bring your full self.
I remember sitting there behind my screen and crying. It was beautiful.
Oh, thank you so much for sharing.
I would like to share an allyship story as well. The first time, it takes courage to take small steps.
Yeah.
And the first time, that's normally how it happens. I started to put my pronouns in my signature, and my pronouns are they, them, but I didn't want to make it hard for anyone. So I started with she, they, so they knew that I would like they, but they didn't have to. And then I would go and put they, she, so people know that I prefer they, but if they go she, I wouldn't mind that much because I don't want to offend anyone. And then the they, them, and I remember the first person who correctly use my pronouns was Gareth. When assigning me a task, I remember being in front of my computer, because it's very easy to not use pronouns when you're talking to someone directly.
Yeah.
And that was the first time. I remember calling my partner and being completely awestruck, looking at the screen, being like, oh, so this can happen. Because it was someone who was not part of the LGBT plus community. It was someone who I had no friendship with, who I respected a lot, but was my senior. And he just did it because that's how you should do it. And it brings so much hope to see people doing right by us.
Yeah.
And allies are so important, because I know there's a lot of conversations that are going on the background, and that's where allies are the most important, because people don't come to me asking me, oh, so you're non-binary, what does that mean? I don't get that a lot at work, but I know that a lot of people go, oh, they changed their name. Why did they change their name? And I have a lot of people coming to me asking, oh, why that one?
Yeah, what does that mean?
What does that mean? Why that name?
Yeah.
And I sometimes struggle to respond, because it's a very intimate question. And I know that there are people on the background correcting people when people are not using my correct pronouns, when people are using my dead name.
Yeah.
There are people correcting them, and I thank them for that so very much.
Exactly. And I think we were going to talk a little bit about something, but I want us maybe to stay on this topic a bit and share maybe some more concrete things that you feel you can share with the audience on what can people do to support the trans community, both in society but also in the workplace. And you talked a lot about the significance of something that might seem quite small, but how significant and meaningful it is to respect someone's pronouns and use them accurately, and also by extension help to correct others who may not be using it accurately, because that kind of takes the load off of you to always have to be the one correcting. And I think there is something to be said about, you know, being part of the LGBTQ plus community, being an activist, but that puts a heavy burden also on you. Not only that you're the one constantly like pushing the envelope, but also we all have our own experiences. And speaking for the whole community, which I said at the beginning of the call, is quite challenging, because we're very diverse. We have a lot of different experiences, and we see things in different ways. So I'd like for us to talk a little bit about what can people do to support and be supportive of the community in the workplace as well as in society. Maybe Camilla, can you throw out a couple of things that you think are useful and helpful?
Pronouns we have mentioned that many times.
Yep.
Getting that systematically, use it yourself if you're an ally, ask for it, etc. Also be careful with the names. Try to use the correct name.
Yeah, but actually, maybe people don't know what dead name is.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, Camilla, go ahead.
No. Dead name is the old name.
Actually.
That's basically dead, that name. It can be very triggering for some, so be careful with that. And also that names can take some time to change everywhere, so it will be a process.
In our IT system, things like that.
Everywhere. It takes time to change names, I know. Yeah. But it can also be like if you have old pictures, team pictures or family pictures, don't spread them afterwards, especially if you have started your transition. Yeah. Then it can be quite triggering for some.
Yeah, for sure. Do you want to add something, Yuki?
Yeah. Well, other than the pronouns and of course being respectful, it's to act up when the time comes. So if I'm in a room with Anna and someone comes and starts calling me by the name that my parents gave me, not the name that I recognize as my own, I know that Anna knows what I want to be called, and if I don't have the courage to say it myself, I rely on Anna to say it for me, and this is very important. I have always had the easiest time protecting my queer people, and even if it's not queer, if it's another minority, I will step up for other people, but I sometimes have a lot of trouble stepping up for myself, and this is what most queer people feel. So if you are aware that there's a queer person in the room, and if you are feeling like they're feeling very not okay with something that is being said, just step up and protect them for a bit. Of course with their consent, but most times than not, people are going to appreciate it. Because when we expect you to do that, even when we're not in the room, because that's what it means to be an ally, is to be consistent, to believe in your own values, and to defend when it's a time to do it.
Yeah. And it's like I always say, there's no such thing as implicit allyship. Allyship is always explicit. It's something that you actively do. So you speak up for the community, you engage in, for example, volunteer work if you can. You show active and unasked for support even with things like that. So engaging in, for example, in your employee resource groups, if you have them, allies are welcome, certainly in our ERG, and I think that's true for most LGBTQ plus ERGs across the world. So I want to end with just starting to wrap up a little bit. And I'd like for you to talk a little bit about if there is one thing that is the most important thing that you want people to take with them from this conversation. Maybe Camilla, could you start us off?
As I was touching a bit on before, visibility. For me, visibility was everything. It made the whole world for me. And that's why I do all my engagement or volunteering work on my spare time and at work. And as standing here, also being an authentic trans person as the way I can be it. Because I know, and I've seen it so many times in my meetups, that there are so many out there who don't dare, who are in the same situation as I was a few years ago. And I just, it saddens me, and I just want to show that we exist, we are everywhere, everyone knows a trans person, and it makes a whole world to see just a normal trans person, not a normal, just any trans person, because we are quite invisible for most, and even for ourselves, if we are not part of the community. So visibility, visibility, visibility. So I'm very grateful to be here, to be on camera, showing maybe someone out there that we exist and you're not alone.
Yeah, maybe you are in fact kind of coming full circle back. Maybe someone's sitting at home realizing I exist, we exist, and I'm going to take that step. So let's really, really hope that that's happening. So visibility and visible role models who take that step. So that's fantastic.
And I can say from my experience, our community is extremely welcoming and so on. So just come.
Wonderful. Yuki, what about you? One thing that you really want to make sure that we give to the audience?
Very quickly, the first one is don't be scared. Some of these terms are hard to understand. Some identities, some terms, some. Just research it. Ask for help. It's not. Don't be scared to be an ally. Don't be scared to be informed, and don't be scared to ask questions. Of course, always tactfully and with respect. The other thing that I want you to take away from this is trans people can look like anyone. They can look like me, they can look like Camilla, they can look like, anyone. So when you are talking to someone, when you are having tough conversations, when you are in work, interacting with people, don't assume anything. Just ask the questions and they'll be answered, and it will create community, and it will create interaction, intimacy, and respect and connectivity. And this is what we want out of a workplace, is to build the best connection we can amongst each other so we can thrive. So thank you all.
I think that's beautiful. And if there's any note we want to end on, it's about connection. It's about allowing ourselves to be comfortable, bringing our full selves to work, to society, and just being ourselves. So thank you both so much for this conversation. It's been fantastic. And I think I'm going to thank our panelists and then also introduce 2 new videos that are going to be shared. We have Amy from Nokia and Umer from Telenor. Thank you.
Pride Month offers me an opportunity to imagine a world where everyone enjoys equal rights. A world where every employee feels free to be themselves, safe and accepted, both in their workplace and outside of it, regardless of the country they're located in. A world where we are all met with an open mind, without prejudice or stereotyping. We know that great things happen when we all value and respect each other for our complementary skills and experiences, regardless of age, background, gender identity, race, sexual orientation, or any intersection of diversity. I dream of the day that all the talented people already working at Nokia and all the new talent we're attracting feel free to leverage and develop our great company's exponential potential, as well as their own, without the need to hide, adjust, or conform. I know that this day will become possible as soon as all our people feel able to bring 100% of themselves to work every day. When Nokia's essentials, open, fearless, and empowered, are lived out in every office and team across all the regions in which we operate. That's why we at Nokia are taking action with groups like Equal, This is one of our largest global employee resource groups, and it's focused on LGBTQ plus employees and allies. We've just launched an LGBTQ plus inclusion allyship program in a bid to increase our inclusion and diversity network, a network that's already over 1,000 people strong. Nokia is also reviewing our processes for inclusivity and how we use inclusive language and pronouns. We know that we're only at the start of this journey. We still have a long way to go before we make this dream a reality, and we need all of us on board to make it happen. So please, let's all work openly together to create a richly diverse and accepting workplace that lives out our inclusive essentials. A world where each of us feels fully valued and accepted, just as we are. A better future for everyone is in our hands.
Welcome. I am Anna Kao, Head of HR for Telenor Sweden.
And I'm Umer Shamsi, Head of Diversity and Inclusion for Telenor. At Telenor, diversity and inclusion is about creating value for our customers. It's part of our culture that we live, and we express it in 2 of the 4 behaviors. And these are?
Create together. To drive innovation, we need diverse perspectives to create products and services that are relevant for our customers.
And it's also about being respectful, to make sure we include all the voices and create a psychologically safe work environment.
We are committed to diversity and inclusion, not only because it's good for our business, it's part of our bigger purpose.
Thanks, Umer, Anna, and Amy. It's great to see how everything that we are discussing today is really embedded in all organizations, cultures, and values. We're going to continue unfolding these conversations today together with Chris, Aaron, and we also have a new guest, John Sebastian, who is online. John Sebastian is part of the Nordic management team. He's responsible for strategy and commercial initiatives, and he lives together with his partner Torger and their son Marcel. Welcome, John Sebastian. How are you?
Thank you. I'm fine. Thanks for a great Pride so far.
We have tons of questions and comments in the chat. So first of all, thanks for all the love in the chat. Thanks for reinforcing how brave also all our speakers have been today. And please continue sending your questions. So let's start with you, John Sebastian. Aaron started today's discussion discussing about the importance of continuing the conversation as of today. When it comes to you, why do you think we need to continue holding these conversations and these type of spaces?
Yeah, I think Aaron touched upon many of the reasons earlier today, but for me, I think even though we have come far in Scandinavia, it's still like a lot of challenges, and we see kind of mental health issues are more normal among our community than in general. So that's a challenge, and then furthermore, we are in a situation where we kind of in Oslo in the Pride last year saw the situation that we had a shooting incident, and that also kind of makes us afraid that we have like also the basic security requirements that aren't that safe anymore. So that's one more reminder how important it is to kind of continue to work on this. So that's for sure, and also for Telenor and many of our companies here today are global, and the other parts of the world we have also kind of many things to still fight for. So that's kind of the general reasons. But I think also from a workplace perspective, I think it's a good reminder and a good thing to focus on pride in the workplace. So it's a great month to have that focus on diversity and being different.
I agree. I think it is endless, all the different reasons why we need to continue these conversations. We have been discussing now a lot about the why, and I see some questions about the how in the chat. I love this one. Someone said terminology is important, but what is really important for the LGBTQ community at the workplace? And someone said, I'm really here to understand how can I do to make life more comfortable and encouraging to the LGBTQI+ community at the workplace. Chris, what are your thoughts on that?
Yes, so my thoughts is that basic kind of human empathy and curiosity goes a long way. But I would see it as many people ask, how much time do they then spend thinking about their identity? And it's more like if you have something that's nagging in the kind of back of your head, that's of course affecting you. But many of us are either in a life situation, maybe you have kids, maybe you have a mental illness, or kind of going through different things. So it's not a difference. It's just us going through then maybe and fearing something else. So I just want to place that there, and then comparing that to saying they don't use time on actual work is actually quite rude and disrespectful. We're all equal strong contributors at our workplace. If not, you should probably have a process with your leader, but that goes the same for everybody. So let's assume everybody is equal contributors. Then I think it's important as a leader to know your people and know their struggles. So if you then know you have a person in transition, you know that that's kind of a really difficult time to go through in your life. Or if you have a dying parent, just be there for that person.
Exactly.
Maybe see that you need to use a bit extra time to support them, ask them. We have a lot of health initiatives that you can also build on top. HR can be there. So just be kind, be empathetic, and help together to go through difficult things in life, no matter if it's transitioning or a mental state or whatever you go through life. We all have our things.
I agree.
Yeah.
And I think that's important that also Camilla actually was mentioning about visibility. We need to make it visible, otherwise the conversation doesn't go in any direction. Any thoughts on that, Aaron?
Yeah, you said it so well, so here to what you said, and I think it's also important for me to say that I think people or human beings are quite, quick on wanting to label people, and to me it's important to emphasize as a leader that, just because I'm gay, I'm not, as every other gay. So we are human beings. That's, that's the basic here. So we have different needs and different wishes and different, demands, just as everybody else. So that it's really important that we don't label people too hard. Because I'm my own human being, and you are you. So that's basic humanity.
That's so important. And sometimes we also get questions like, how exactly should I communicate? What exactly should I say? Yes, I think it is important to be aware of that. But at the end, as you said, we are human beings. Yeah. We all just want to be treated with respect, safeguard our dignity. So it goes back to that, our humanness beyond everything. John Sebastian, we also got a question in the chat, and I think it is very interesting for us to answer and reflect about that. Someone said, what are the differences between a safe space and an unsafe space? What does that really mean, especially for the LGBTQ community?
Yeah, it's a good question. I guess it also can be individual, but for me, it's like a safe space is a space where you can be your authentic self to a large extent and be safe. So I think that's at least my definition, but it's great to hear from some of the other in the panel as well.
Any thoughts?
Yeah, I can go. I think as a leader, I think a safe space is, as you said, actually, as a leader in business, we need to make sure that we make sure that everyone thrives, and that means you have to know your peers, you have to know your organization. So that's a safe space when I, as a gay man, can come to work and be myself and thrive, and someone else can come to work and be themselves, regardless who they are. So this is not about only LGBTQ inclusion. This is about inclusion, period, and that is a safe space for everyone, regardless of gender, sexuality, religion, whatever, can be themselves at work. Because that is also when the business benefit comes, and when the innovation comes, and everything comes with that. So there are so many business benefits of just working with, inclusion for real.
And the responsibility that we all have for that inclusion to happen, right? We can say very loud about bring your whole self to work, but what are we actually, all of us, doing, and also as organizations, to actually create those environments for people to feel free, as I was saying since the beginning, without fear, to be themselves? Chris, any
Yeah,
comments?
I think the problem in today's society, when I hold a lot of keynotes and are out talking to people as well in the organization and outside, I ask them, who are you? And most people don't even know who they are. I became a CEO when I was 30. I was wearing a suit since I was like 14 years old. I went into that mold and the expectations of the society. It was not before I was 30 I went to India to live like a monk for a period that I found like who is truly me. And then I took back a lot of the things I've lost along the way. I was heavily bullied because I loved plants when I was little. I've probably been more bullied for loving plants than being gay. So it's, to me, it's all about bringing all the colors that we are and dig a bit deeper into the onion. If you have bad humor, you should be able to bring that to work. If you want to wear a pink suit instead of the blue suit, do that. Or even if you want to kind of go with sandals or anything else, like, be your true self. But then we also need to do that soul searching. And we work in Telia a lot with self-leadership. And the 3 pillars of that is, it starts with self-awareness. Because usually when we're criticizing others, it's because we're not accepting all of ourselves. So start with self-awareness. Then that will build self-confidence and self-esteem. And then eventually you will have self-reliance and really be able, as me and Aaron being here, standing true in ourselves. I don't care what other people write in the chat, and you shouldn't think about your identity and whatever. I know I'm a high performer. I know I'm really a nice person, and I also respect others for being themselves. So karma to you.
And isn't it like an endless journey, really, to like that soul searching that you mentioned? I think we will continue redefining and redefining ourselves, what we like, our identities. So just allowing that to happen little by little.
And then I think it's such important. People come to, you're gay, but like, gay is like one of the 100 things I am. I'm a dog owner, I'm a friend, I'm a chairman, I'm like running a startup, so many different things. That why do we kind of over-label one person just because they have 100 piece of them? That's a bit different. But in many other parts, I'm actually part of the majority. I'm getting almost bald soon, middle-aged, white, so I'm also fitting into a lot of the norms and privilege. So I think let's not overdo it either as a label. I think it's important.
Yes. Aaron, you talked a lot about hope and how to keep that hope alive.
Yes.
What would be your advice for everyone to really find that hope on the everyday? Like we see in the news and on the everyday, like even in the chat today, some hate towards the LGBTQI community. How to keep that hope alive? What would be your advice?
Yeah, I think when I'm trying to find hope, because I agree with you that it's happening so many awful things around the world towards the LGBTQ community. But I think, I find strength in my, I talked about a community. I find strength in my friends, my family, my husband. I find strength in doing this and listening to people who inspires me. That's strength to me. And I think this event like today shows so massively that, the hope and the progress, the will is so much stronger than the hate. So I think, if you are in a work environment, I think you should find your allies and be part of a group or an ERG or something at work that, believe in the same thing that you believe in. Or if it's outside of work, be part of some kind of community or connect with people on LinkedIn. I think LinkedIn is a fantastic tool to bring hope.
An easy way.
And it's a super easy way. So there is so much hope out there. You just need to know how to find it.
Yes. Community. I think that's very important, and we can find our communities in many different ways at our workplaces, through the employee resource groups. Community can mean many different things, and especially for us as allies, what exactly can we do to support and be part of that community? John Sebastian, again in the chat, there was a lot of questions about the how. What exactly can I do? So what would be like your top 3 practical things and examples or advice that you give to allies to really showcase that active and effective also allyship?
Yeah, I think the first one is just to continue to be awesome and be ally, because I think, at least for me, that is important, that to know that people are supportive and that they are allies. So just continue with that. It's kind of the practical advice, number one. And then number two is maybe basic, but it's about standing up, because even in our professional companies, there are some situations where people say something that is not acceptable. Then you should really state that and stand up for the community. So that's at least two very practical tasks.
When talking about practical things, I think some people also sometimes ask about education and awareness. If you think about your careers and workplaces, experiences that you have had, what do you think are good ways to actually raise awareness and actually help educating people? Because let's be honest, for some people, especially when there is no visibility, there is so much to learn and understand and unfold. So what do you think are good examples that you have experienced that could help to increase that education, acknowledgement, and awareness? Aaron?
Yeah, I think I can start, because I've worked as a leader for so many years now. And I think one of the strongest or most powerful tools we have is actually to, once again, know your organization and give those people a platform and those voices. Because if we look at the LGBTQ community, of course, everyone aren't not comfortable with doing this. Everyone don't want to be on stage. Everyone don't want to share their story. So that's the first thing. But there are people like Chris and me, for example, who love to do that. And in the organization, of course, once again, we need to know our organization, and those people, we should give those a platform to tell the stories. And by telling their stories, they will educate their colleagues and the surroundings. So, and that goes for every minority, actually. And that is a superpower that every organization has within. But I think so many organizations are not good at, harvesting that knowledge and that storytelling within their own organizations.
Yes. Chris, John Sebastian, anything from your side?
I just want to touch upon what we talk about, safe spaces.
Yeah.
I think that's something we should move away from, because that's then a symptom of the society that we live in, and especially at the workplace. If we then say that, hey, I'm going to create a safe space for gay people, LGBTQIA, or women, then you're saying, from what? From the rest of the culture at the company. Are you then saying you have an unsafe culture?
Something separate than my feel.
Yeah, and then it also feels like you as a leader, you don't take that responsibility to make it safe. You rather make it up to the minority to fix it themselves, together with themselves. And how did kind of fostering a diverse and inclusive culture be then a tool for that, is to replicate the men's club with a women's club, for example. That's exclusion in its purest form. So I think we need to have the dream in mind and have then practical actions that mirrors the reality we want to see. So what we changed up, for example, with our female mentorship programs, we did a diversity sponsorship program where both, no, you're not straight, where both straight people, part of the norm, and minorities came together as brilliant talents and developing together in the new normal that we would like to see also outside in our company.
And that's the basic that we talked about diversity, right? That mix. If we have just separate groups, how that magic will happen around really having a diverse group of people thinking about different topics.
And then I just wanted to touch upon a comment from Francesca. So she says, I'm conservative, and I saw the flag up in my telco, and I was thinking to leave for some other telco. But after seeing this, I don't know where to go. Thank you for waking me up. Like she talks about embracing the beautiful, diverse people. So that's why we need this.
Yeah, and let's talk about the flag, because we also had another question in the chat about the flag. And they were asking, what is the statement, actually, that a flag on a building at our workplaces has? What is that saying? What does that mean? What does that mean to you, actually? What do you think it is the stand that we are taking when you see that flag up there? John Sebastian.
Yeah, but I think it's important, and just when we change the logo on the Facebook pages during Pride, etc., you see why it's still important, because some people are kind of reacting on that. So it's a clear statement, and I think that's important that we all do. So even though somebody can call it like pinkwashing or other expressions, I think kind of that statement in itself is important, because we have a long way to go. So for me, the flag and showing it is an important thing that we should continue to do.
I agree. I will never forget something that I saw on LinkedIn last year. And I think as organizations, sometimes we struggle about should we put it, should we flag it or not, especially because what you are saying, John Sebastian. What about if it is thought about pinkwashing? And for the people who maybe don't know, it is about we are just doing that to tick the box, to say we support the LGBTQ community, but we are not really walking the talk. But I will not forget something that I saw on LinkedIn from a colleague at Ericsson who said, well, I don't remember how many years ago, I went to my leader and someone told me you have to dress more feminine, otherwise you will not make it to the top. And today I woke up in the building and I saw the flag, and that changed the narrative and the message that Ericsson and their leaders are telling me. So I agree. I think it is important. And that's actually when we say, it matters. It matters. Even if it is for some reason just one flag, some colors, it actually means something to someone else. Any thoughts from your side?
Yes, I am a huge fan of pinkwashing. So I actually think we should pinkwash the beep out of the world, because for many companies that's the first step.
Yeah.
It's like a kid that's starting to try to walk,
yes.
And then they do this with many. So I think it's important to acknowledge the comments in the chat. Diversity and inclusion is not. We just today have a deep dive on LGBTQI, but it's all about all the differences.
Yeah.
Or if we would celebrate Ramadan, usually you just say, congrats with Ramadan, but then you're not doing, and you're bringing some food to the table. But it's a start, and then people start to come, they feel a bit more involved, they come with solutions, and we create better together, basically. I think
have
that's
to start
important.
somewhere.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then I think it's an important message from the chat as well, since I take the responsibility as a chat moderator now.
You're taking all the roles. Good job.
But it said okay, shouldn't those who are not believing in different identities also be included? Mm-hmm. Of course, they should. Mm. But it's not like if you're straight and saying, hey, I have a girlfriend, I will say I don't believe in straightness. Right to your face, to argue against you. So of course have your belief, but when a person is really, really a minority that struggles, maybe even for their life, not taking their life, we shouldn't bombard them with our philosophical beliefs or other beliefs if they don't ask about it.
Yeah, definitely is. Aaron, anything from your side?
Yeah,
Checking also the chat.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. I think about the rainbow flag and your question. For me, the rainbow flag stands for, of course, joy and a reminder that we aren't there yet, because as I said in my speech, even though for me as a person, I live in Sweden, I'm privileged. Mm. So for me, I have a good life, but that's not the reality for everybody. So I think it's an important reminder that we can't stop the fight, that we still have to watch out for our colleagues or peers out in the world. Because just a couple of weeks ago we had in Uganda, in Africa, they imposed a death penalty for being gay, and this is happening right now in the world, and it's not far away. So
11 countries.
Yes, 11 countries have death penalty on being gay. So I think this is once again that pick at the bubble in the bubble, the reality check that we need. And if the Pride flag can do that, I'm glad to have it waving of the head offices of companies.
Thank you. We do have a question for you, Aaron, from the chat. And it is, you talked about your experience joining an organization and the leadership not being ready for you. So someone was mentioning maybe some leaders are actually feeling that they cannot even come out on leadership positions because of fear of what that could mean at their organization and for their careers. So what would be your advice for leaders who are struggling in that process to come out?
Yeah, and I think that's, first of all, I think that's really true, because I think, once again, it's about role models. If you can't see it, you can't be it. So if we don't have any gay executives, it's hard to believe that you can be there. Mm. So that's the step number one. We need more people like Chris and me, for example, to show that it's possible. But secondly, I think it's always, when you do career, it's about showcasing your skills. So I think because I've discovered throughout my career that people want to label me, but first and foremost, I am and have always been a leader. Then I'm a man, I'm black, I'm so many things. But in business, I'm a leader, and I'm a darn good leader. So I mean, my power here has always been to show my skills. Yeah. That is not about me being gay. That is of me being a good leader and having skills. So I think that's number one, that you should of course showcase and make sure that you get a room and a space for that. And secondly, I think it's important to actually know the power you have as a leader, because I also spoke about that. You have the power to say no. So I think if you are with a company that doesn't share your beliefs, or if you are with a company that doesn't let you be you, if you have the possibility, not everyone has that, but if you have the possibility, I think you should say no thank you to them and choose somewhere where you can be you. So, and of course, I know that's easy for me to say that you should choose and choose a way, but I think if you have that strength in you, please do that.
What amazing power also to be on a leadership position to actually change things.
Yes.
Sometimes people come to the diversity and inclusion team thinking that we are going to fix absolutely everything, but who are deciding who we hire, who we promote, who we advance in their careers? So I think it is, as you said, a great opportunity to actually, and as you said also, like fighting from the inside.
Yes, absolutely.
Really not being as a bystander.
Yeah, and I think it's so, just to end that, I think it's so important when you are a leader, when you have that role, I mean, you need to have a strategic approach to this, because this is a long-term game, and to be able to change this and make this, make inclusivity in the long run, we need to make it strategic. So you need to have it in the policies, you need to have inclusive policies, we need to have, we need to have it system in the strategy documents and so on, so it's there when we need to prioritize. So this is, once again, this is a business question. This is not something you do with your left hand when you have a little time over. This is something this is hardcore business.
Definitely. We have our last minutes for the panel, and I want you to think about everything that we have been discussing today, the panel that we had previously with Anna, Yuki and Camila, your keynote, and this conversation. So what is that one last thing that you would like to tell everyone in the audience? What is that your final request that you want to share with them? Jon Sebastian.
Yeah, I think it has been a very interesting discussion today, and I think for me, if everybody kind of continue to be a ally, if you listen to this, and kind of foster the diversity and the inclusion, that's my message.
Thank you. Aaron.
Yeah, I think it's the strength in this that the giants of telecom are doing this together. I think that's come back to hope. So for me, I leave this day filled with hope, because this is, to me, this is amazing. And I heard there were several thousands online also. So this is so much better than the few hate comments that I got.
Thank you. And Chris?
Great. I just need to
acknowledge something else in the chat.
Say a quick one on the chat. So do I advise for hiring quotas? Yes, they has proven to work. That's my short answer on that. But then I would say twofold answer on the last question. One of them is then to look inside yourself and then kind of bring out all your colors. Do you accept yourself for who you are fully, even though you're straight or whatever you are? Or have you become someone because the society expect and others expect? Then after that, look outwards and look at your group of friends. Are they on the same age and the same color and the same maybe background? Make sure that you create a bit of a more diverse group of friends, because what gets normal to you, and I think that's more important than education, because education is 10% of our development. But if we're actually applying and working together with people that are diverse, it becomes normal, and then you will accept both yourself and then others for who they are.
Thank you. Thank you, the three of you, for this very good chat.
Thank you.
We have our last 4 minutes to close this conversation. And we just want to thank everyone who have joined today. Chris, what are your final words in these last 4 minutes for everyone?
I like that we have a really engaging chat and many people that are helping and supporting, educating people. It shows truly that there's still a big need, even in industry coming together, workplace session. We still have a bit of, I would say, disrespect, a bit of almost discrimination, a bit of rudeness and stuff. But this is also nice because it shows the reality. And I think this is only kind of almost a bit sugar-coated reality. If it was a private event or a public event, more like not sponsored by big corporates that has a good name and so on, it would probably be even worse.
Yes. We want to thank everyone also who joined today. Absolutely everyone who joined. As Chris was saying, thanks for all those love comments, to support each other, to continue growing and learning and understanding. Thanks to...
And then we want also, before they leave, so we will want to hear your key takeaways from today as well, because you are the most important people here today. So if you can go to the chat as well and write your key takeaway. What's the most important nugget of today? So we can sum up and go through the rest of the day with all that juicy feeling with all the key takeaways from all of you.
We then also share our takeaways, and then we thank everyone, and then we close.
Yeah.
What are your takeaways?
My key takeaway is that I should be even more curious, because even though I've been within this field for so many years, I still learn a lot every single time.
Yes. I wanted to get 3, but I only got to 2. But first, I would say we are not done, period. We are really not done. There is so much yet to be done, to be learned, to raise. And I think today was an example of that. So thanks everyone for being here. And as I was going to say, thanks everyone who supported today's event. And second one, we all have a role to play. It is easy to blame others. It is easy to say you are not doing, but what are we doing? And I think it is amazing that as a good step for everyone who is joining today and being interested and curious, as I was saying, to learn and understand much more. It is personal to some of us. I think it should be personal to all of us, because as we were saying, this is about humanness, and it's about us as human beings and human rights, really. So now, can we thank everyone and close last minute?
Yes, we can. A lot of great comments, really positive feedback from all of the participators and the panelists and you guys as well. So I think we end on a fairly positive vibe with a lot of more people knowledgeable and proud and out and allies.
Awesome. Thanks everyone who joined. Thanks to all the panelists, the speakers who joined us today. Thanks to all the organizers. Again, Ericsson, Nokia, Telia, Tele2, Tre, and Telenor. Thanks for opening this space and allowing us actually also to continue learning. We see each other next year?
We do, for sure. See you next year.
Thank you.
Have a nice one.
Bye-bye.
Bye.